All right, let's get right into it. You know, we often think that being intelligent is all about how much stuff you know, like facts, dates, and big words. But what if the real measure isn't what's in your head, but how your head works? It turns out psychology shows that some of our most common habits or ways of thinking can actually be signs of false intelligence, and they can hold us back without us even knowing it. And this quote just hits it right on the head. It's a bit of a paradox, isn't it? The very idea that you've got it all figured out, well, that might be the biggest clue that you really don't. This kind of flips our whole definition of smart upside down. So today, we're going to break down 5 of these super common psychological traps. And look, this isn't about pointing fingers or judging anyone. It's about spotting the habits in ourselves that might be limiting our own growth. So let's jump into the very first one. Okay, first up, the certainty trap. This is that feeling of being absolutely 100% sure about pretty much everything. And yeah, it feels good to be certain. But here's the twist. Truly intelligent people, they often have way more doubts than certainties. They're always questioning their own ideas and looking at other possibilities. There's actually a psychological term for this. It's called the overconfidence bias. It's this funny thing our brains do where knowing just a little bit about something makes us feel like we're an expert. And that illusion of knowing it all can be one of the biggest roadblocks to ever actually learning more. So the real takeaway here is this. Never questioning yourself isn't a sign of confidence. It's probably a sign that you've got a blind spot. Letting yourself have a little doubt, that's actually the smarter way to think. Now, let's see how this leads right into our next trap. Okay, trap number 2 is what we can call the rigidity block. This is when you see changing your mind as some kind of weakness. I mean, we've all been there, right? You're in a debate with someone and they just dig their heels in, refusing to listen no matter how much evidence you show them. That's not a sign of strength, it's just rigidity. And this slide just lays it out perfectly. On one side, you have weakness, just clinging to old ideas to protect your ego to make sure you win. But on the other side, that's intelligence. It's the ability to say, wow, that's good evidence, and actually update your beliefs. That's a real superpower. Because at the end of the day, that refusal to change your mind doesn't protect you at all. All it does is build a wall around you, blocking off any new information and stopping your growth dead in its tracks. Now for our third sign, the simplicity fallacy. This is the habit of taking these huge, complex, messy topics, like politics or human relationships, and trying to boil them all down to a simple black or white answer. From a psychological perspective, when someone relies on words like always or never, it's often a sign of pretty shallow thinking. It's like taking a mental shortcut to avoid the hard work of dealing with how complicated things really are. So whenever you hear, oh, it's obvious, that might be a little red flag. Because, true intelligence isn't about finding that one simple answer. It's about having the patience to sit with the complexity, to explore all the gray areas, and to comfortably hold a few different, even competing ideas in your mind all at once. All right, number 4 is a really big one, the curiosity killer. Just think about it for a second. Curiosity is the engine of learning. It's what drives us to discover new things. If you kill the curiosity, that engine just completely stalls. It's one of the clearest signs of a sharp, active mind. So when someone stops asking why or wait, how does that actually work, they're basically sending a signal that they're happy with what they already know. And that just keeps them stuck on the surface, They never dig down to see how things are really connected. And that's really the heart of this trap. The very moment you decide you're smart enough is the exact moment you turn off the switch for getting any smarter. You just stop learning. You stop growing. And our final sign, number 5, is the blame game. That habit of deflecting blame. When something goes wrong, what's the first instinct? Is it to point a finger at a coworker or the system, or just chalk it up to bad luck? Constantly pushing blame onto external things is a huge sign of a lack of self-reflection. Now, the antidote to this has a kind of fancy name. It's called metacognition. But all it really means is thinking about your thinking. It's that ability to take a step back and analyze your own actions and decisions and just ask, okay, what was my role in this? What could I have done differently? And psychologists have found that this skill is directly tied to higher intelligence. So here's the thing, without that ability to look inward, real improvement is, it's basically impossible. You're just doomed to make the same mistakes over and over again, always thinking it's somebody else's fault. So let's just do a quick recap of these 5 habits that can sometimes trick us into thinking we're being smart.
feeling certain all the time, refusing to ever change your mind, making everything black and white, losing your curiosity, and, of course, always blaming someone else.
And that really brings us to this powerful final thought. Being truly intelligent isn't a performance. It's not about winning every argument or trying to look like you have all the answers. It's a process. It's about thinking clearly, being able to adapt when new information comes along, and maybe most importantly, being brave enough to question yourself. So I'll just leave you with this one question to chew on. Think about it. Which of your own beliefs are you most afraid to question? That one idea you hold on to the tightest. What would actually happen if you were willing to just poke it at it a little bit? Because right there, that's where the real growth begins.